I'd like to call the meeting to order. I'm Tanya Cook, Chairperson of the Metropolitan Utilities District Board of Directors, and I'd like to welcome you all to the committee meetings this morning, November 1st, 2023. This meeting is being live streamed from the boardroom at the M.U.D headquarters building at 7350 World Communications Drive, and a recording of this meeting will be uploaded to the M.U.D website after the meeting's conclusion. Safety briefing. I'd like to invite our Vice President of Safety, Security, and Business Continuity, Shane Hunter, to provide a briefing regarding protocol for all individuals in attendance at the board meeting today in the event of an emergency.
Good morning. Shane Hunter, Vice President of Safety, Security, and Business Continuity. We all entered through the rear of this room today, and the boardroom is on the first floor. That's the normal entry and exit, but there's also an alternate exit on the right-hand side of the room here. It's on the other side of that door in that hallway where we'll find the nearest fire extinguisher, first aid kit, and AED. With the location of the AED in mind, a show of hands who's CPR and AED trained in the room. Thank you very much. Should 911 need to be called, that call will be made by the security staff at the front desk. Upon EMS arrival, they will be escorted into this space for patient treatment. If we need to leave this space for any reason, we can use either door, but if we have to evacuate the building, we would like to go through this same door on our right, take two lefts, and meet in the parking garage where we'll account for everyone's presence. That concludes the safety briefing.
Thank you. Roll call.
Friend. Sidzik.
Here.
McGowan.
Here.
Howard.
Here.
Kavanaugh.
Here.
Begley.
Here.
Cook.
Here. I would like to advise all those in attendance that a copy of the Open Meetings Act is available on the wall in the back of the boardroom. Construction and operations. Interim Senior Vice President and Chief Operations Officer Andy Melville will now review the proposed capital expenditures. Morning.
Good morning. Andy Melville, Interim Senior Vice President, Chief Operations Officer. This month I will be reviewing the first 5 items on the agenda, starting with the capital expenditure letter behind tab 5. There are 2 items under system improvements, 2 under buildings, plants, and equipment. I'll be speaking to item number 2 on page 1 of the letter. This project is for $2,100,000 and will install a natural gas heater at the 117th and 4th Street Town Border Station. Heaters are common in the natural gas industry for raising the temperature of gas prior to pressure regulation to mitigate formation of ice around gas mains and impacts on downstream valves. Mains downstream of the 117th and 4th Station are experiencing icing. For this project, Northern Natural Gas will manage the design, procurement, and installation of the water bath inline gas heater. This project is budgeted in 2024, but with equipment lead times, it requires us to order the heater here in November of 2023. That's the only item I'm going to talk to for capital expenditures. Are there any questions on that? Okay. Next, behind tab 6 is the acceptance of contracts and payments of final estimates. Work has been completed on 6 projects this month, comprised of 1 water development project, 1 gas cast iron infrastructure replacement project, 3 water cast iron infrastructure replacement projects, and 1 boring service contract for a water relocation project. Are there any questions on the finals letter? Now moving on, behind tab 7 is a change order number 1 for the water main replacement project WP 1719, located between Leavenworth to Dodge Street and South 69th Street to South 71st Street. This change order is an increase of just under $41,000 on an original contract of $436,000, or a 2% increase in the original negotiated contract amount. This is for reconnection of services that were larger than records indicated. I will also note that this project appears on the finals letter that we just reviewed, and it includes this change order. Are there any questions on this change order number 1? Okay. Behind tab 8 is the bids on materials and contracts letter. It includes bids on 4 water or gas main contracts and 12 items where the low bid met specifications and is recommended. 1 project only had a single bidder and will be rebid at a later date. Any questions on the bids and materials letter? The last item I'll review is the main extension letter, which can be found behind tab 9. This month's letter includes 3 projects. The third project is noteworthy, excuse me, as it is a main extension requested by the City of Bellevue to serve water for the LB 840 Economic Development Zone in southeastern Bellevue. The water main design has been coordinated with the Sarpy County Sewer Project and the future Platteview Road Expressway project. With that, can I answer any questions on any of those letters? All right, thank you.
Thank you. Personnel, Senior Vice President and General Counsel Mark Mendenhall will now review employee wage and/or salary increases and ratifications.
Good morning, Mark Mendenhall, Senior Vice President, General Counsel. I'll do my best impression of Ms. Savine this morning. And so behind, let's see, tab 10 is the wage and/or salary letter. But before I speak to that, just brief employee count. End of the month 2022, the district had 846 regular employees, 3 part-time employees. End of the month, as of yesterday, Halloween, we had 890 regular employees, including 5 regular full-time employees. For the letter behind tab 10, you'll see this is an approval of 5 OAC employees' wage increases due to promotion, 1 OAC employee with a wage increase due to a job progression, and 1 SPA salary employee with a salary increase due to a job promotion. Any questions about the personnel letter behind tab 10? Okay, seeing none, I also have an interlocal agreement that is found behind tab 11. If you recall, last month during my presentation regarding the interlocal agreement for traffic improvements along Highway 133 and Potter Street to support the CC2 development, I mentioned an interlocal that referenced the obligations, the construction, operation of a traffic signal. This is that interlocal. So this is an interlocal agreement between the district, the Department of Transportation, and 3 neighboring SIDs to install a traffic signal. This traffic signal, thank you, Jay, that's very helpful. So you'll see Potter Street is dead-ended there. Potter Street will be connected, and then we'll have the acceleration and deceleration lanes installed as a result of what was discussed in the interlocal agreement from last month. And then for this interlocal agreement, this thing's going to be huge because Highway 133 is 4 lanes with that big median there. So this will be a traffic signal running across Highway 133 there. We believe absolutely critical to allow our trucks with heavy machines being pulled behind to turn left off of Potter Street to leave our facility. And so this traffic signal will be cost shared amongst the 4 SIDs, and your approval is requested. Any questions on that? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Senior Vice,
Chair.
yes,
Director
I'm
Cook.
sorry, I did not see you.
Mark Doyle, President. I'd like to ask, and while Mark's still up, can we switch around the public comment item ahead of the workshop? Mr. Conrad, Wally Conrad is here today, and we've had some dialogue internally about some items that Mr. Conrad would like to discuss with us, and they're fairly detailed, and they're good comments, a lot of detail. He owns properties and has some suggestions and some requests. We're not here to squelch discussion by any means, but after Director McGowan and I spoke with Mr. Conrad this morning, we think referring this to management, having an internal meeting at your convenience with us, with the right people at the table, we'd love to hear the concerns and have a good open discussion. Anybody's open, you can attend, Mr. McGowan will probably attend with us, but we wanted to get you on the agenda and logged in that you're here and that we've agreed to do that. Now, you're welcome to listen to our budget workshop, but I wanted to get you ahead of it so you can make your own choice about staying.
I've done budgets for 25 years, so,
Yeah.
no, that's, yeah, no, thank you, and yeah, that is agreement to meet later there. But I want to personally thank M.U.D. for responding multiple times in the middle of the night for carbon monoxide, and one incident where it was 40 parts per million that they called the Omaha Fire Department because I was very woozy. So I do appreciate the quick responses there. And I look forward to sharing some of the safety concerns and recommendations.
Okay.
So,
Say your name.
yeah, Walter Conrad. You want address?
That's up to you if you'd like.
Sure, that's 11221 Seward Plaza, apartment 2504. Okay, but thank you.
Thank you for bringing these to us. Yep, we will be in touch.
Okay.
All right. Senior Vice President and Chief Financial Officer Mark Myers will now provide the 2024 Budget Workshop presentation.
Good morning, everyone. Mark Myers, Senior Vice President, Chief Financial Officer. Jay will be bringing up the presentation document on the screen. Today, I'll be presenting a preliminary view of the 2024 budget, focusing on personnel and capital projects. We're not requesting approval of any of the budget today, but simply providing an informational session to share some information as it's been submitted today. The budget is still a work in progress. We expect some changes to be made before we get to the final budget that will be presented to you for approval in December, including potentially changes to some of the staffing and capital expenditures that are included in our presentation. The materials are also in your binders under tab A, and within there is an appendix that provides a lot more detail than that will be shared on the screen today. So starting on slide 3, we'll discuss personnel and focusing on that upper left table reflecting staffing levels as of December 31st of each of the periods shown. Focusing also on the subtotal for the full-time employees, the 2023 budget included 905 full-time employees, and we're estimating that we'll end right on that number at the end of this year. The current draft of the 2024 budget includes 923 full-time employees, an increase of 18 compared to the current year budget. A few of these positions have been added this year in order to meet business needs. You may recall that the 2023 budget only included a net addition of 2 full-time staff positions. However, as the years progressed, we've identified some additional business needs, and certain positions have been filled related to utility locating, engineering, and water operations. In addition to that, other positions are being requested for hire in 2024 to meet increasing business demands and to support important initiatives across the district. Those would span several other divisions, including utility locating, meter services, construction, engineering, and information technology. The charts on the lower left and the upper right show a different view of these staffing requests, showing the totals split between OAC and SPA employees. And on the lower right, you can see the split by department as to how that 923 would be comprised. Turning to slide 4, you can see this is a trend of this year's actuals compared to budget. The dark blue line at the top is the total budgeted full-time employees, and then the teal color line is that same information but adjusted for the 3% attrition rate that we plan for in budget. And you can see the dark blue bars are the actuals that we've had so far this year, and those are coming in pretty close to that budgeted level after adjusting for attrition. This is a little bit different than what we've experienced in previous years, and what we would have shown in those budgets, you would have seen that actual line much lower than the teal colored line. but there's been some proactive steps taken by management to ensure that we maintain adequate resources across the district, such as proactively posting jobs in some cases where we become aware of retirements in advance so that we fill those positions as they become open, and also hiring employees in advance of attrition in certain areas like field service where it takes an extended period of training time before they're fully qualified to perform their duties out in the field. Switching then to slide 6, Jay, a couple of other things that we talk about related to personnel with the budget are travel and memberships. These are relatively small in terms of the scheme of the total budget, so I won't spend much time here. But travel expense is on the top half of this page, and the 2023 budget was $384,700. And due to the pandemic, travel expense in 20 and 21 was very low, but it picked up slightly in 2022 as in-person events started to open up again. With that in mind, we increased the 2023 budget pretty significantly to $384,700. And while travel has increased, it's still well below what was expected when we prepared this year's budget. So as a result, we did scale back the 2024 budget to be more in line with pre-COVID travel trends and our current year projection for this year. As far as memberships, those are on the lower half of the screen. Those that are funded by M.U.D. total just over $236,000. That includes memberships for individual employees as well as company-wide memberships. And that's about $10,000 higher than last year's budget. Also, as part of our relationship with Northern Natural Gas, Northern provides marketing incentive funds, some of which are used to pay for other company-wide memberships. Example of those include the Chamber of Commerce dues with the City of Omaha and other local municipalities. And those are totaling $172,564, which is down about $8,000 compared to the 2023 budget. We can turn to slide 8 and discuss the capital expenditures, specifically here for the water department. A lot of information on this page. This covers the 2023 budget, the 2023 projection, and a draft of the 2024 capital budget. I think it's helpful to look at where we stand compared to the 2023 budget because that helps explain some of the things that we're requesting in 2024. So dropping down near the bottom of the page, the total plant additions and replacement included in the 2023 budget was $131.5 million. The updated projection for this year is $89.6 million, which is 41.9 lower than budget. You can see that next to the yellow arrow. This is primarily due to lower than planned spending on construction of water mains and on capital improvements at the 3 water treatment plants. Related to water mains, you can see next to the green arrow, that's expected to be $18.8 million lower than budget. And this is primarily due to delayed spending on large development projects as reflected in the contract mains and pioneer mains line items. These delays have been caused by a number of factors such as design changes, delayed pipe delivery, permitting delays, and the timing of acquisition of easements. Many of these issues we believe have been resolved and will be back on track with these projects in 2024. Moving down to the red arrow, spending on capital improvement projects at all 3 water treatment plants is expected to be lower than budget this year. At Florence, spending is expected to be $7.2 million below budget. The vast majority of this is due to the timing of 2 projects, the site header piping project and the Basin 6 rehabilitation. These delays were caused by the equipment failure that occurred in July. The Phase 1 site header project is nearing completion, and the Basin 6 rehabilitation has been postponed until next spring. At Platte West, certain projects were also delayed this year and will be incorporated into a comprehensive capital improvement plan that's currently under development. And at Platte South, the $7.8 million variance is also due to timing. There were 2 capital improvement projects expected to begin in 2023 that have been carried forward to 2024. Those include the new administration administrative building, and a new electrical building. Turning to slide 9.
Mark, excuse me. On Florence, could you help me? Repeat that about Florence. I want to understand how the outage this year impacts the budget.
There were a couple of capital improvement projects that we had intended to work on the second half of this year. And as a result of the response to that event and repairs that needed to be completed first, that took precedent, and some of these capital projects were slowed down and delayed, and some of that will carry forward into next year. Slide 9 is a similar view of those numbers, but also includes the funding sources for each of these different types of capital projects. If we focus on the 2024 budget column here, the budget submitted for 2024 is $130.7 million, as highlighted in that green row near the bottom. The budget includes $75 million for the construction of water mains, some of which will be paid for by developers. These water mains include $24.4 million for infrastructure replacement mains. The cost of these mains is funded with the monthly water infrastructure replacement charge and the infrastructure commodity component of rates as well. We're also budgeting for $15.8 million for construction of contract mains. These are typically the new subdivision mains and are paid for by developers. And we're planning to spend about $21.4 million on pioneer mains in 2024, down from $27.1 million budgeted for this year. These are the approach mains that generally feed into the subdivisions or commercial developments, and the developer pays for the majority of these costs as well, but M.U.D does bear a portion of the cost. And on average, the district pays about 40% of the cost of these mains. Moving down to buildings, land, and equipment, much of this spending is associated with the projects at the 3 treatment plants. We're planning for $15.2 million at Florence, $12.9 million at Platte South, and $5.4 million at Platte West. The other buildings, land, and equipment of $2.5 million includes $2 million for the design and construction of a booster pump station on Highway 370. And the next line down, repumps of $6.9 million includes, among other things, $3.9 million for the purchase of land and design work associated with a new southwest reservoir and pump station. And it also includes $1 million for the purchase of land for a new booster pump station along Highway 133. Most of these projects I just described will be funded with proceeds from the water bonds that were issued last October, so October of 2022. In total, we're planning to use about $30.8 million of those bond proceeds to pay for capital projects in 2024, and the remaining $12.4 million of those proceeds will be used in 2025. Turning to slide 10, this just shows the composition of that $130.7 million of proposed capital spending. About 58% of the budget is for construction of water mains, including the infrastructure mains and all other mains. And improvements at the 3 water treatment plants make up about 26% of the total. Turning to slide 11, this displays a 5-year projection of capital spending for the water department. This includes a total of $619 million of cumulative spending from 2024 through 2028. Construction of water mains continues to represent the majority of this spending over the next 5 years, including infrastructure replacement in the dark blue bars and the other mains included in the teal color bar above that. The other blue bar just right above that reflects spending on Florence. $15.2 million is budgeted for 2024. That includes $7.3 million for the Basin 6 rehabilitation project that I just mentioned a few minutes ago. And it also includes $5.6 million to design and replace electrical equipment that was damaged during that July event. We do expect much of this to be reimbursed either through insurance or other third parties. The red bar above that shows spending on Platte South. The program for their CIP ramps up in 2024 with projected spending of $12.9 million and continuing into the future years. A formal capital improvement plan is underway at Platte West, and we're planning for annual spending of about $5 to $6 million per year over the next 5 years, extending beyond that, but that's what's in this 5-year projection. The gray bar reflects spending on construction machines with $8 million in 2024, and then at a consistent pace over the next several years as the Transportation Division continues to manage the age of the fleet and to meet business needs. In the navy blue bar, that's related to 2 new reservoirs. As part of the district's water master plan, we anticipate the need for 2 additional reservoirs and pump stations, one in the northwest region of our service area and one in the southwest. The southwest reservoir will be built first at a cost of $37.6 million. $3.9 million of that is budgeted in 2024 to acquire land and to begin the design of the project. This is expected to be completed in 2027, with $8.5 million spent in 2025, $15 million in 2026, and the remaining $10 million in 2027. The Northwest Reservoir is also estimated to be $37.6 million. We've included $2.6 million in 2025 for the purchase of land. An additional $27.5 million will be spent between 2026 and 2028, and the remaining $7.5 million falls outside of this 5-year window, with the completion of the project expected in 2029. Many of these initiatives will continue to be bond financed. It's projected that we'll spend the remainder of the 2022 bond proceeds through early 2025, and another bond issuance will likely be needed at that time. Next, on slide 12, I'd like to talk just a little bit about the Water Infrastructure Replacement Program. This slide is a reminder of why that's an important topic. It presents a history of our water main breaks going back to 2013. And over this time period, the district's experienced an average of 534 breaks per year. And over the most recent 5 years, we've averaged 555 breaks per year. Not only is there a cost to repair these breaks, but there's also a social cost to the disruption of homes and businesses when an event occurs. The next slide describes how the district continues to enhance its program to mitigate risk around main breaks and how these initiatives are addressed in the budget. We're committed to our infrastructure replacement program and will continue to replace aging, high-consequence water mains at a steady pace. The budget includes 17 miles of replacement in the next 3 years and then increases to 18 miles in 2027 and 2028. 5-year spending plan assumes an average cost of $1.9 million per mile and a cumulative cost of $161 million over that time frame. As you're aware, we continue to pursue opportunities to lower the cost per mile, including alternate installation methods such as pipe bursting and the use of different material types such as PVC and HDPE. We're also expanding our condition assessment and leak detection efforts, proactively identifying issues before they become main break events. We expect to ramp up the number of miles of water mains assessed over the next few years, as presented there on the slide. But although we're committed to these risk mitigation efforts, there's still a need for additional funding for these programs. You can see that in the last 2 bullets there. Spending on the infrastructure replacement program in 2023 is expected to exceed infrastructure revenues by $3.8 million, and rate increases will likely be needed for the foreseeable future in order to fully fund this program on a current basis. Switching to the gas department on slide 15, capital spending is presented here for the 2023 budget, 2023 estimate, and 2024 budget. The 2023 budget included plant and additions and replacements totaling $101.3 million. The updated projection shows that we would spend $91.1 million this year, which is $10.2 million lower than budget, as shown next to the yellow arrow. This is primarily due to lower than planned spending on construction of gas mains, information technology projects, and motor vehicles. Gas main spending is expected to be $2 million lower than budget, as seen next to the green arrow, primarily due to lower spending on gas infrastructure replacement projects. The other significant variances are listed next to that red arrow under buildings, land, and equipment. First, the LNG and propane plant projects on line 13 is actually projected to be $6.3 million higher than budget, primarily due to additional spending on the LNG plant renovations as a result of timing and increased cost estimates. This is offset by lower building, lands, and equipment on line 14 of $3.9 million, primarily due to the timing of design and construction of the new construction center. This project is ramping up quickly, and we just celebrated the groundbreaking ceremony there last week. Information technology on line 15 is projected to be $5.8 million below budget this year, with delays in the implementation of the digital platform modernization project, which will be carried over into 2024. And expenditures on motor vehicles are expected to be $4.1 million lower than budget, primarily due to delays in vehicle purchases due to supply chain issues and the availability of vehicles to purchase. Turning next to slide 16, the colors of money slide for gas. We're showing a total budget request for 2024 of $100.9 million, as shown in that green row at the bottom. This includes $22.5 million for the construction of gas mains and $15.6 million for services and other distribution system assets. Moving down to buildings, land, and equipment, we're budgeting $7.7 million for the LNG plant, primarily related to completion of the liquefaction replacement project. The vaporization expansion project will essentially be completed and operational by the end of this year, with a small amount of work completed in early 2024. Construction will continue on liquefaction through fall of next year for the completion of that phase of the project. The majority of these two projects have been funded with proceeds from the 2022 gas bonds. We expect those funds to be fully utilized before the end of this year, and the remainder will be funded through the new gas bonds that were just sold last week. We expect $13.3 million of the $88.6 million of proceeds from these new bonds to be used to complete the LNG project. All other buildings, land, and equipment on the next row of $22.3 million includes $18.9 million for design and construction of CC2 and $2.3 million for the renovations at the existing construction center. Combined spending on these two projects is expected to be $75.3 million through 2027, and that will be funded with the new bonds that were just issued last week. The information technology budget on line 15 is increasing to $10.4 million, and this is largely due to carryover of the digital platform modernization project that I just mentioned a minute ago. And then the budget for motor vehicles is also increasing up to $14.5 million, in part due to the carryover of the certain vehicles that we were unable to purchase this year. And just a couple of other items to note on this slide. Those items listed next to the blue dollar are the funded for gas infrastructure replacement. The total spending on those is $25.4 million, and the primary funding source for these is the gas infrastructure replacement charge, but we did include in the 2022 bond issue about $60 million to pay for a portion of these costs as well. And there is a new color of money, if you will, on this slide. You can see the pink dollar bill as an indicator of the $10 million PHMSA grant that was awarded this year. We do expect that most of that $10 million will be used to fund gas infrastructure replacement projects in 2024. Turning to slide 17, shows the composition of that $100.9 million of capital spending in the gas department. Infrastructure, mains, and services make up about 25%, and the 2 construction center projects make up about 21% of the total. Slide 18 shows the 5-year view of capital spending in the gas department. Cumulative spending through 2028 is projected to be $351.1 million. Jay, if you could turn to slide 18, please. Thank you. The black bar at the bottom represents gas infrastructure replacement. Cumulative spending from 2024 through 2028 is $77.2 million. And as we near completion of the cast iron replacement program, the mileage numbers will decrease over the remaining years. But we do expect to then move into other phases of the infrastructure program, which would likely include moving meters from inside to outside. The bright green bar reflects spending on capital improvement projects at the LNG plant, largely the 2 that I just mentioned, the liquefaction and vaporization projects, which will be completed in 2024. The red bar shows projected spending on the new construction center, with cumulative spending of $54.1 million through 2026. And then right below that, the dark blue bar is the renovations at CC1, which would have total spending of $21.3 million through 2027. The orange bar reflects spending on vehicles, with $14.5 million in 2024 and $12 to $13 million per year thereafter. And then finally, the the purple bar near the top shows information technology, with 2024 and 2025 weighted heavier than the later years due to the digital platform modernization project. We have $8 million budgeted in 2024 and $4 million in 2025. As this chart indicates, capital spending is much higher in 2023 through 2025 and then begins to decline. That elevated spending in the earlier years is due to the major construction projects at the LNG plant and the 2 construction centers. All of those projects will be funded with bond proceeds. We do not, in this current 5-year view, expect or anticipate any additional bond funding beyond the issue that was just completed. And that's the extent of my comments here. Are there any questions?
I'd like to put a couple comments on top of Mark's. Thank you for the presentation. As usual, this takes a large team. Many people are involved in this. It's a lot of work. Even though we do this every year, things change. It's cumulative. We always appreciate your support. And this, as we said, is our opening workshop. We will work with each of you between now and December, like we have in past years, to have more of a deep dive, but we want to get this in front of you so you can start digesting and formulating what you'd like to talk about specifically. And anything else on that I'm forgetting, Mark, that we've spoke of?
No, we just continue over the next few weeks reviewing and analyzing these numbers. We do expect some changes, but we'll have communication and be able to get your input as we go into the December board meeting.
And we plan to have small committee meetings. Committee meetings, I guess, is not actually the term. Mid-November, we'll start with AEF&R, and I think we've already spoken to the AEF&R committee on how we'll schedule that out and start talking about rates and the things we want to get to. Right? Got
Right.
it covered?
Mm-hmm.
Good enough, Mark Mendenhall? Okay.
Thank you.
Mark, I have one thing. Excuse me. Could you ever put together a list for me of all the bonds that we have outstanding? What they are, the maturity date, and what the interest rate is, and how much we charge each year for debt?
Sure. I started to compile that when we just issued these new bonds, so it should be pretty easy to put together and get sent out to
Okay,
you.
no big hurry, but I would like to see that.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we have flipped the public comment. Are there any other members of the public that would like to address the board right now? Any board members with further comments? Seeing none, this meeting is now concluded. We will reconvene for regular board meeting in 10 minutes. I'd like to call the meeting to order. I am Tanya Cook, chairperson of the Metropolitan Utilities District Board of Directors, and I'd like to welcome you all to the regular board meeting this morning, November 1st, 2023. This meeting is being live streamed from the boardroom at the M.U.D headquarters building located at 7350 Communications Drive, and recording of this meeting will be uploaded to the M.U.D website after the meeting's conclusion. Roll call.
Friend. Sidzik.
Here.
McGowan.
Here.
Howard. Here. Kavanaugh.
Here.
Begley.
Here.
Cook.
Here. I'd like to advise all those in attendance that a copy of the Open Meetings Act is available on the wall in the back of the boardroom. And now for those who wish to participate, we will recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Approval of the minutes for the committee meetings and regular board meeting for October 4th, 2023. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Sidzik.
Yes.
McGowan.
Yes.
Howard. Yes. Kavanaugh.
Yes.
Begley.
Yes.
Cook.
Yes. Capital expenditures, Director Kavanaugh.
Thank you. Under agenda items 5, capital expenditures, 6, acceptance of contracts and payment of final estimates, 7, change order number 1, Leavenworth to Dodge Street, 69th to 71st. Item number 8, bids on materials, and item 9, main extensions. I move for approval of all these. They were discussed in committee.
Do I have a motion? Second.
Second.
Roll call.
Sidzik.
Yes.
McGowan.
Yes.
Howard. Yes. Kavanaugh.
Yes.
Begley.
Yes.
Cook.
Yes. Acceptance of contracts and payment.
He handled that.
Oh, he did. Oh,
He jumped right
wow.
down to number 10.
You said that. I apologize. Wage and/or salary increases and ratifications. Director Begley.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move that we approve the wage and/or salary increases and ratifications as discussed in committee this morning and outlined in Ms. Savine's memo dated October 19th, 2023.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Sidzik.
Yes.
McGowan.
Yes.
Howard. Yes. Kavanaugh.
Yes.
Begley.
Yes.
Cook.
Yes. Interlocal agreement, Potter Street and State Highway 133 traffic signal. Director Kavanaugh.
Thank you. I move we approve the interlocal agreement for the Potter Street and State Highway 133 traffic signal as presented in the committee meetings by Senior Vice President General Counsel Mark Mendenhall and as outlined in his letter to the committee dated October 26, 2023.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Sidzik.
Yes.
McGowan.
Yes.
Howard. Yes. Kavanaugh.
Yes.
Begley.
Yes.
Cook.
Yes. Do any board members have any further comments they wish to share at this time? Any members of the public have any additional comment? All right.
Chairperson Cook?
Yes.
May I?
Mr. Doyle, yes, you may.
Mark Doyle, President. Two quick items. You've been invited to our public meeting with city, state, community leaders for an update on our lead service line replacement program, which is a week from today. We will resend the details if we haven't already. And the program is called Detect, Correct, Protect. And it's very important, and your support and participation is appreciated as we work to gain community support for this important initiative. Number two, this would normally take a long time, and I'm not going to say much other than this is Mary's last meeting. Put her on the spot a little bit, not asking her to speak, but just pointing her out. Much appreciated. I will ask you, did you make a decade here? Yes. I thought so. 12 years. Doesn't time fly? Yeah, so, you know, I've, of course, come to rely on Mary's advice, direction, help, friendship, all of those things. So we wish you the best, and we're looking forward to working with Sarah. This has been a really good team relationship so far. I can tell. They've become fast friends, which is really important when you're transitioning a role this important. So thank you, Mary. We could talk all day, couldn't we?
We could, and I'm not going to because it could get emotional.
I know.
Thank you, Mary. You cannot get rid of me that easily. And perhaps I'm speaking for the rest of the board, but we won't belabor. Are there any other members of the board that have comments at this time? Seeing none, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Sidzik.
Yes.
McGowan.
Yes.
Howard. Yes. Kavanaugh.
Yes.
Bagley.
Yes.
Cook.
Yes, we are adjourned.